3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I'm going to talk about one of the most interesting rules of thumb I've uncovered for myself and my clients that is sort of counterintuitive because it's in the title. Follow feels, not rules. So it's a rule that basically says don't follow me. But I'll explain. And if you're interested in learning more about this kind of thing, I encourage you to take on a self-catalyst program you can find at michaelneill.org called A Whole New Way of Thinking About Business and Success. But generally speaking, when we are working in an arena where we feel comfortable, we don't really worry about rules. We just kind of trust our feeling. We have a feeling for things and we follow it. You know, we just kind of, I kind of know I can go this, somebody who's great at music kind of knows how long to run before changing things. They know when something's missing and what to add it. They're not creating music by numbers. They're creating music by the feel that they've got for it. But when somebody new comes to it, they try and follow the rules. Okay, you need this many bars, and then there needs to be a bridge if I'm writing a song, and then there needs to be this, and there needs to be this. And it seems like you need rules until you develop a feel. And particularly when we don't know what to do, what that means is we look for rules. We look to outside us for the rules of this. How am I supposed to do this? Instead of trusting feels. But what I want to suggest is that even if you're new to something, our feel for things is so built into us that we can follow feels, not rules, from the very beginning of any endeavor. Now, I'm going to give you an example from my own life. And one area where I really felt like I didn't know what to do was business. I was absolutely somebody who got into business accidentally. I just liked doing what I do. And at some point it became apparent that in order to keep doing it, it needed to look like a business. And because I didn't know what to do, I went looking for rules about business. Now, the rules I stumbled across may make no sense to you. They may not be the rules for business that you stumbled across, but they were for me. So one of the first rules that I came across in business was don't spend money you don't have. Now, you might say that sounds very sensible. And then you might, as I did when Amazon came along and had it in their business plan that they weren't going to make a penny until at least 4 years in, go, wait, that doesn't make sense. I thought you weren't supposed to spend until you had. But in any case, that was one of the rules. Another rule I had was always be selling. Right? It's sort of similar, I guess, in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. It was ABC, always be closing, but sell, 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 sell. Every communication should be sales oriented. I was taught, there's always a pitch. There's always a chance to be selling. And then the third was that everyone should do everything. That nobody should be a job's worth. Everyone should do whatever was needed and not be limited to their job. And that was sort of what I armed myself with when I went into business. Now, here's the truth. There were times where not spending money that I didn't have served me really well. And there were opportunities I missed out on because I was following a rule, even though my gut was saying, well, if it was my business, I think this would be worth doing. So I missed all sorts of opportunities because I followed a rule. Now, understand that going by feel doesn't mean I would have always spent money I didn't have, because when it felt wrong, when it felt off, I wouldn't have done it. But because I was trying to follow a rule, I missed out. Now, sell, 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 always be closing. Well, did I make sales early in my business career? I absolutely did. Did I put off so many people from ever working with me? I absolutely did. Now, if I was navigating by feels, not rules, I would have just had a feel for when selling was appropriate and when it wasn't going to be helpful, when it would draw somebody in and when it would put somebody off. Some people have the opposite rule. Never sell. Never sell. I mean, let them buy, but never sell. Well, same thing. There are absolutely times where if you're paying attention to the feels, you can tell, actually, this person wants to be sold to. And then there are other times where any attempt to sell is just going to put somebody off. How do you know? You have a feel for it. And that feel just gets refined over time, but it's there from the very beginning. Well, what about this idea? Well, if you have employees, nobody should be a job's worth. Everybody should do everything. Well, again, there are times where it's great when people pitch in. And there are times where people pitching in mess up everything, slow everything down, and make everything harder. How do you know when to do which? There's a feel to it. And if you're paying attention to the feels, it's usually pretty obvious. So rather than talk about this too much more, I want you to choose some area of your life where you're pretty sure you're following rules, not feels. And I want you to take a look, like, what are the rules that you've got? And you might have more than 3, you might have 5 rules, you might have 1 rule, you might have 10 rules, but like, what are the rules you're trying to follow? If it's work, at work. If it's in the creative endeavor, if it's in a relationship, one of the rules I used to try to follow in a relationship was never go to bed angry. Well, when I started navigating by feel, I realized there were times where going to bed angry was way better than talking about it. And there were times where it really felt right to talk about it, even if we were both kind of tired and a little worked up. So in whatever area you've chosen, what are the rules you notice or you know that you're trying to follow? And as an experiment, over the next week, notice what happens if you navigate by feel. If you follow the feels, not the rules. And I think you're going to find, and this is not just based on my experience, but my experience of doing this with hundreds of people in every walk of life, that when you start navigating by feel, you realize how reliable the feeling of something is, how much more reliable it is than even the best practice rules you're trying to follow. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.